The Dutch were having a gay old time in New Amsterdam, slaughtering beaver and stealing land, when suddenly, in 1664, only 300 years before the invention of Nutella, a fleet of frigates flew in and flagrantly flaunted their flags to demand the Dutch hand their land over to the English. Because the Dutch didn't understand English very well, they misunderstood "we're here to take your land" as "we're here to shake your hand." And before they could say Rotterdam, they'd amicably agreed to let the English invade. The English's first act was to raise the flag of St. George Harrison over the Fort Amsterdam, rename the fort James, and rename the New York. Then, for about 100 years, nothing much happened, until King George started the Stamp Act. The Stamp Act was a touring nightclub act in which audiences were forced to watch English actor Terence Stamp sort his stamp collection into binders. With King George as the producer, colonists were required to attend, even though the New York Times said it was, quote, "the worst show I've seen since the triple bill of Michael Caine's Canes, Jeremy Irons' Irons, and James Mason's Jars." New York audiences were so bored that they started to riot, threatening to shoot cannons at the artist formerly known as Fort James, now called Fort George. Inside the fort was New York Governor Cadwallader Colden, who was never taken seriously as governor because his name was so silly. The British repealed the Stamp Act, Terence Stamp retired, and the colonists built a big lead statue of King George right here to thank him. 10 years later, they tore it down to make musket balls to fire at King George.